Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Cedarville Stories Podcast. I'm Mark Weinstein, and it's baseball season as all major league teams are at their spring training sites preparing for the upcoming season. Today, I'm sitting down with Payton Eeles and Tanner Gillis, two former Cedarville Yellow Jackets whose perseverance, faith, and friendship have carried them into professional baseball. From setbacks to breakthroughs, their journey is a powerful story of calling and trust. So let's go inside my baseball conversation with Payton Eeles and Tanner Gillis on this week's Cedarville Stories Podcast. Hey, Tanner and Payton, thanks for joining me this week on the Cedarville Stories Podcast. I've been looking forward to this podcast for quite some time because, like yourself, I'm a baseball fan. And so talking to two Cedarville alumni who are pursuing their dream of making it to the major leagues is a lot of fun for me. So let's start there. When you think about where you are in your professional career and actually leading up to where you are now, has it always been a dream for you to play in the major leagues?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think since the time I could walk, I remember baseball was my first sport. It was my dad's first love. So it's what I've been doing forever. And ever since I was a little kid playing on those teams, wearing the uniforms, the big league uniforms as like an 8-year-old, I knew I wanted to be a big leaguer. Yeah. So I would say for sure.
When did you, I'll get to Payton in a second. When did you, Tanner, switch from third base to being a pitcher?
Freshman year at Cedarville.
Okay.
The first couple of practices.
Yeah, so I showed up, Coach Manis, he offered my older brother. I came with him, and I was playing third base. I really wasn't good at third base, but I was lying to myself that I could still hit. And in the first few weeks, I think everyone kind of realized that hitting was not for me anymore.
I think Trace might have struck you out, your older brother.
Yeah, my older brother struck me out, and I knew it was time. It was time to move to the mound, and ever since then, I haven't swung a bat. So
there you go. How about you, Payton? Your dream?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I grew up. That's what I wanted to do. Every kid who plays baseball has that goal for himself. I just wanted to, get in the minor leagues, because I felt like that was such a tough barrier to, to cross, especially once I got to Cedarville. I'm like, okay, I just needed, a shot. And then once I could get that, I could at least show what I could do. So yeah, it's always been a dream of mine, a goal.
So when you think to, your dream and then everything leading up to where you are today, do you recall a time where baseball felt more like a calling than a sport or a job? Has that crossed your thoughts?
Yeah, I think definitely like this past year, and I know Payton, like probably the same thing, like being in the minor leagues and being in a room full of guys that are younger than you. Because we both, when we signed, the first couple teams we played on, like we're a lot older than everyone.
Right.
So it felt like it was a really good opportunity, not only to play baseball professionally, but like kind of mentor or just be a guy that our younger teammates could look up to. So that's kind of really like pro ball was the first time where I felt like, okay, it's my job, but it's also like something that I can glorify the Lord through, through being a good leader for my teammates and just a guy they can go to.
And now both you guys are playing probably with some guys who are still maybe a little younger than you, but I assume that still has continued to this day, right?
Right. I'm one of the older guys on both teams that I've played on so far. And even in AA, I'll still be one of the older guys if I am in AA this year or whatever level I'm at. But.
Yeah. So for clarification purposes, Tanner, as of this recording, is with the Milwaukee Brewers organization playing for the High A Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. Payton is now with the Baltimore Orioles organization after being traded in November. Speak to your thoughts and feelings, guys, and maybe we'll start with Payton, that when you signed that first professional contract, what went through your heart and your mind when you inked your name to that agreement?
It was just a significant accomplishment because it's what you wanted to do in life. It wasn't for a lot of money, right? Because they signed free agents, me and Tanner, I think both for $500. So it's like, we're not doing this for the money. We're doing this because we're trying to chase a dream. And so that was a very surreal feeling, I think, when, like you said, I put the ink to the paper. So yeah, it was really cool. I don't know if you want to speak about it too.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things was just after you sign, like you put the jersey on and then walking into the locker room and seeing, I was in Arizona at our spring training complex, and like seeing the Brewers logo next to my name with my jersey and everything. That was probably one of the coolest things. And then initially, like when I first got the phone call, being able to call my parents, and then I drove a few hours to surprise my wife that I had been signed. So
yeah. So when I think of your story, and I've been following your journey for the last year plus, I think it's really neat how much you guys still stay in contact. You follow each other's career, you root for each other. And that all started here at Cedarville, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
we were roommates, yeah, in Brock, the dorm there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was our sophomore year. In 2019, we were together, and yeah, it's crazy because, it's so hard to, make it out of the D2 level. And the fact that we both were able to do that on the same team, and, we're roommates, really good friends, was really cool to us. And yeah, that's why I think we still follow each other so well.
We tried to be roommates freshman year, but the dorms were too full.
Okay.
Yeah, I got stuck in the overflow up in the third level. So yeah.
Because Payton's pastor is friends with my dad, so
okay,
they kind of communicated, and then Payton emailed me before our freshman year, asking to be roommates, but there was no room. But sophomore year we were roommates, and then even like junior, senior year we lived in a house together off campus.
Okay,
a couple other guys,
yeah. So Payton, you mentioned coming out of D2, it's a challenge to get spotted, but you had a benefit because you use your eligibility. Well, you didn't use all your eligibility at Cedarville. You graduated from Cedarville, right? And then you played 1 year at Coastal Carolina with D1. That had to be a big benefit for you. Was it really?
Yeah. Yep. And Tanner did the same thing. And so, yeah, I think that was a big step up, and using, that, the great 4 years I had at Cedarville to go to Coastal Carolina, which is an incredible program too for baseball. Right. Was really beneficial for me. And yeah, it was a really good experience, and I'm just happy that, it all kind of worked out.
Now, the one thing I would have a complaint with you guys, well, not with Tanner. Tanner, you play what, for Eastern Kentucky?
Northern Kentucky.
Kentucky. I knew it was a school like that. But, when I look up Payton statistics, it says your height, weight, and your college. It doesn't list Cedarville, it lists Coastal Carolina.
I know, it lists your last college you attended, which is crazy because when I think of college, I think of,
Cedarville.
4 years in Cedarville. So, yeah. But yeah, that's what happens. They want to put the bigger name on there in terms of baseball.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Payton, as I was talking with you offline before we started recording, we talked briefly that in late November, just before Thanksgiving, you were traded from the Minnesota Twins organization to Baltimore. Speak to the emotions of when you learned about this offseason trade, and then at this point you were going to the Chesapeake Bay Sox of AA when you played at AAA for Minnesota.
Yeah, I'll just give you context. It was probably 11 o'clock at night on a Thursday. I'm watching the Thursday night football game at the time, probably ready to go to sleep. If the game's not on, I might be asleep already. And I get a call from our minor league GM, who I'd known and I had a relationship with, and I was kind of close with. He called me and just said, "Hey, like, I just want to let you know you've been traded to the Orioles." And he was, thanking me and whatnot. But it was just kind of like a surreal feeling. I remember texting Tanner and a couple of other guys right away. I'm just like, because I didn't know how to process it. Obviously, I've only been at the Twins for 2 years,
right?
Maybe 1.5, whatever. And so it was definitely a crazy feeling. The guy I was traded for was somebody who was on the big league team with the Orioles. And so the fact that they trade me 1-for-1 gives me at least a hope and excitement that they want me over there. So that I wasn't necessarily like super happy about it or super sad, but it was just kind of exciting to experience this new opportunity. So I'm grateful for that, and hoping that I can get a chance to be at the spring training this next spring
with the big league club, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, trades are one thing, but it had to be a little special for you to know that you didn't just get traded for another minor leaguer. You got traded for a major leaguer. How does that make you feel?
It just makes me feel wanted, and just acknowledged, and I'm just ready to get going with them and to help out them anyway.
Well, I hope to see you in Baltimore real soon. I'm sure you do too. When I looked at your baseball numbers in preparation of today's podcast, Payton is a career 285 minor league hitter. That's impressive numbers. The average in the major leagues right now is, I think, closer to 250. Your on base and slugging percentage is 825 or 827, and according to what I learned, anything over 800 is outstanding. So you're on par to keep moving forward. Tanner, if I remember right, you have a sub 2.0 ERA, which is really good. 91 strikeouts is in 67 innings, something like that. What's allowed you to be successful in your early minor league career? Both of you guys. We'll start with Tanner.
I think for me, one thing the Brewers do really well with pitchers is like using your strengths, or kind of accentuating your strengths rather than like trying to work on a bunch of different things and change stuff.
Yeah.
And then a lot of that has to do with like having resources that I just didn't have before, like TrackMan and all these things that can track my release, my grip, my numbers on all of my pitches. So stuff that, not a lot of colleges have because they're expensive and there's a lot of technology involved, and these professional teams have those resources. So just kind of finding out like what I do best, and then using that to put myself in the best position to have success. And the coaches are great too with the Brewers. I've had both levels I played at. I've loved my pitching coaches, and they've been a huge help in trying to help me to understand what makes me the most successwill.
Yeah. So right now, as we're recording, that you're going to be at least at high A ball, right? When will you know for sure if you're at high A or if you've moved up to double A?
You don't really know until you break camp for the season.
Okay.
So because spring training can affect that. Like if I go out there and was dominating in spring training, it might affect that. And on the flip side, if I went out there and had a terrible spring training, it might affect it as well. So it's really just dependent on how you perform in spring training. And then they kind of look at your age. I'm like more of a double A age, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'll be there. You still got to earn it.
Right.
Now you'll work out with groups, and I don't know how the Twins do it or how the Orioles will do it with Payton, but like you work out with groups that are kind of the level that they see you at.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you're at that level automatically. You still have to, you still don't really know until they give you the plane ticket.
Right. But it gives you hope that like if you see you're working out with the double A guys, there's a greater hope that you're going to go that level. Right.
Right.
Yeah. How about you, Payton? So you're a stolen base machine. You're hit for high average. What's been the secret? How have you been able to do that at a really high level in professional baseball?
Honestly, I credit a lot of that to my experience I had in independent pro baseball.
Okay.
So after I didn't get drafted out of Coastal Carolina, there were about 60 games I played in these independent baseball leagues, which for context, it's pro baseball, but it's not under an affiliate. And a lot of guys in these leagues are former AA, AAA, even major leaguers.
Right.
And so going into that right away, I feel like really just helped me learn the game from a professional level and really just help develop my skills. And it all goes back to the Lord's timing in my life, because I was so disappointed I didn't get drafted out of Coastal Carolina. But looking back on it, if I would have, they probably would have sent me to rookie ball. Rookie ball is full of 19, 20-year-olds. I would have been very old for that.
Right.
Who knows if I would have developed the skills I have now,
right,
if I went into that right away. And so I really do think that playing against so much older, experienced guys straight out of college really helped me to where when I did finally get signed with the Twins and started in their minor league system, it just helped me a ton to have that experience already under my belt and kind of know how to carry myself at a professional level.
Yeah. We know God's timing is always perfect. So his perfect timing has really led you to where you are today. And Payton, you alluded to it just a little bit ago that actually both of your journeys to where you are hasn't been linear and upward trajectory. It's been hard. In fact, I think there are times when you felt like maybe the door was closing for you to play. What stands out from those experiences that helped you push through to ultimately be noticed and then to sign the contracts with who you're with right now?
I always look back on a verse, Romans 5:3. It says, not only so, but we take glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, hope. It just goes back to that. Sometimes in life, the greatest moments and the parts that you learn the most is in those times that you struggle. And I think we both, took that because we didn't have a linear path, like you said. There was stuff that happened in our journeys that, most guys in our positions right now didn't experience. All of them usually kind of followed a similar path. They got drafted. They were one of the best guys on their college teams. They're big name colleges and all that. So I think that's just what makes it special for us is the fact that we didn't come from, programs like that. We came from, a smaller one, but yet, a school that means so much to us and that molded us, I guess you could say, because, Tanner was there for 5 years. I was there for 4. And so I think that's just what makes it so cool is that we were able to persevere through those obstacles and get where we are now.
Yeah. How close were you guys to saying, okay, this is it, or I'm gonna give it one last chance? How close were you to that decision? Tanner's smiling.
Yeah, no, it's funny you bring that up because
hold on, you go. What you're gonna say
the summer. So after Northern Kentucky, I had a good year and was talking to a handful of pro teams. But when I didn't get drafted, I didn't get signed as a free agent after the draft. I was living in Toledo with my wife, and Payton I just got married.
And she's a Cedarville grad, right?
She is. She played basketball.
Okay.
Payton was in town playing against the Mud Hens, and I was doing nothing. So I was just at every game. One of the games we went out to dinner after, and I was like, all right, Payton, should I keep playing? What should I do? And I was kind of asking Payton because he's been in the exact same spot.
Right.
And he just kind of talked me through independent ball and just giving it one last shot. And that's when we made the decision to that I would play in the MLB draft league, which is where I got the free agent contract. So
you were close.
Yeah. And that wasn't even the first time at Cedarville. In my first 3 years, I pitched 9 innings. I was hurt. I tore my UCL.
Yeah.
COVID happened. There was just a lot of stuff going on where I didn't even know if I'd be able to play baseball again. Because before that point, I hadn't been a contributor that much on my high school team.
You got cut out of your high school team, right?
I got cut as a freshman and a junior.
Yeah.
I got cut from JV and varsity. I knew I wasn't done at that point.
Sure.
But I was like, man, this is tough. One thing that kind of helped me though is growing up, my dad would always remind me just because I play baseball doesn't make me the person I am. That's just what I do.
Right.
So I think if baseball was everything to me and that was the only part of my identity, it would have hit me a lot harder when I was in these seasons of injuries and struggling to make teams. But that was just kind of, you have to have perspective because baseball is a failure sport. And
it is,
especially like as a hitter, you fail a lot. And as a pitcher, there's so much that you can't control. So you just have to get used to that, that feeling.
Yeah. As a hitter, Payton, I mean, you're an all-star. You're a Hall of Famer if you fail 70% of the time at the plate, right? You hit 300. Right. Yeah. That's a good average. So it is a failure sport. But I want to go back to a comment Tanner made. Living in Toledo, coming to watch Payton play against the Toledo Mud Hens, the AAA affiliate of the Detroit Tigers, my favorite team. So did Payton get you tickets, or did you have to pay for your own tickets?
No, he gave me tickets.
Okay.
I think when I was talking to Tanner about to, give a one shot and keep playing, I think we met at this restaurant that was like right outside the stadium a little before the game. And then, they came to the game after. So
that's neat. I think it's really neat. And I want to transition into your time together at Cedarville, but I think it's so neat that your relationship started at Cedarville. It's continued to this day. When you think about the special bond that you have together, is there a moment or experiences that you go back to and say, this is where it started, or this is how it even got deeper as a close relationship?
I still remember the first time I saw Tanner and his brother Trace was at a luncheon we had with the new players when we were freshmen coming into Cedarville. Like I said, we have like a common connection. My pastor is really good friends with his dad. And so that's how we kind of knew of each other. And so that's like my first, that was my first, impression of Tanner. And then from there, it's like, we had other buddies too that we were close with too. So hanging around them, just being together, just helped form that relationship our freshman year in the dorm rooms of Brock. And so, I would say that was how it really started. And then probably playing baseball together and like experiencing the stuff we did. Because it's D2 baseball. There's gonna be a lot of stuff that's just tough. There's 18-hour bus rides and like you just have a lot of time to bond over that when you go through stuff like that. And it was really fun.
You remember when you first met Payton, Tanner?
Yeah, I do. I remember thinking like, there's no way someone this small can be that good at baseball.
Payton, the same thing, just you're small this way.
Yeah, I was really skinny. Payton was short.
Payton has heard that all his life. That's probably why he didn't get drafted.
Yeah, it is incredible because even though like I'm not Payton and I don't hear what he hears, like even playing against teams, like I know they were thinking, how is this guy doing this to us? Like,
yeah.
The amount of times as freshmen that we almost got no hit, but Payton had like 3 hits. So or 2, like he saved us from a lot of no hitters, even as a freshman. But yeah, going back to your last question too, like Payton lived with me one summer. He was playing summer ball up in New York.
Okay.
He lived at my house, and so we had that time together. And then even now, like we live 15 minutes from each other. So
not only have you had the hurdles, obstacles, whether it's your size or you come from a D2 program, but in your pursuit to be a minor leaguer, hopefully a major leaguer, COVID hit, and COVID impacted your progress and your years as well. How did COVID impact you professionally and then even spiritually?
Professionally first. COVID was, it took the break from the whole season, but not only that, it shortened the draft from 40 rounds to 20. So it basically cut it in half. And then the commissioner made the choice to cut a bunch of minor league teams too. So all these players are getting released. So that just made the path to get in so much narrower and harder. And so that was really tough, for us to try to get into after that happened. So that definitely affected a lot in terms of professionally and how to go about that and how to get in there playing baseball. So, and then spiritually too, probably just not being able to play what you love. And so you're affected mentally. I remember we were in Cedarville at the time, and we had just gotten back from Florida, our Florida trip. this is, March 2020. And at first they're telling us, yeah, it's 2 weeks, go home. We were the only ones on campus at the time because we like the other athletes were going to keep trying to play even though everybody left. And so, that was just crazy. I remember I didn't even take all my stuff with me. I left a bunch of my stuff in my dorm because I really thought that we would be back in 2 weeks. And I remember I came back to pick it up, and this is, late May. And I'm like, dang, we could have been playing baseball right now, but here I am picking up my stuff from college. So yeah, it definitely had an effect on you mentally and then spiritually, just having to rely on something else that wasn't baseball because it just shows that you can't put your identity in it because it can be taken away from you just like that.
Sure can. Do you think if COVID hadn't hit when it did, the likelihood of you being drafted, Payton, would have been higher and it probably would have happened?
I definitely think if COVID didn't hit and the rounds, like I said, didn't get cut in half, right. I honestly think I go back and think about it. I'm like, I think I would have had a shot. I'm not saying I would have been, top 5 or something that, but I feel like I definitely could have gotten a shot. Same with Tanner.
Now, when I think of your career, Payton, and my mind can be a little sketchy, but when you were at Coastal, did you guys make it to the World Series?
We didn't. We hosted a regional. We finished number 10 in the country, and we hosted a regional, and we lost to Duke in the final. So it was the last game. We had, fought our way and just fell a little bit short. So
Yeah, I was watching one of those games, and I saw you come up to the plate, and I quickly connected the dots of this is the Payton Eeles who was at Cedarville. So I did some research quickly and became a fan of you at that point. And you have a good game, and so I hope the best for you guys. So let's land this plane with a few final questions. Still at Cedarville. And thinking about your pursuit to where you are, has there been favorite scriptures or a chapel moment or a Bible class that really helped to anchor you during your uncertain days, whether you're going to be drafted or not, whether you're going to play independent ball or not, or make it to the minor leagues? Has there been anything Cedarville connected, scripture, class, chapel, that stayed with you even at this point in your career?
Yeah, I think one thing that really still stands out to me is when I was going through Tommy John surgery and the COVID years, and those kind of first 3 years were just being a little rough for me. The older guys on the team were such a big help, asking how can I pray for you? Or even guys that had gone through Tommy John as well. Would reach out to me and check in with me quite often. I remember the day that I tore my elbow. Matt Bierman, he was an old teammate of ours, older guy, very wise. He was one of the few people that reached out to me, sent me a long text, and it just meant the world to me that these older guys, they care so much about me, and that's because these guys are trying to be godly men, leading the baseball team at Cedarville. And they the effort that they showed to kind of mentor me that meant a lot to me. And that set a good example for what I wanted to be when I was older.
Good. So now that you're both in the minors and you've had a few years there, has anything surprised you about being a professional player, whether good or bad? Help our viewers and listeners maybe get a glimpse of what it's like to be a professional player trying to make his way up through the minor leagues. Anything surprise you?
I mean, it was very strenuous, I would say, because you're playing 130 or 40 games every season. You're playing every day except usually for Mondays. And so there are times when you go out there and you're like, man, I really don't think I have it today, but you got to give, 100% of what you do have. And so that was probably the part where I had to adjust the most is that aspect. I don't know if you want to speak about anything too.
So it's more, it's more mental.
A lot of mental. Yep. Especially when you have bad days, you got to flush them quick. And when you have good days too, you can't let it get you too high because, you're going to fall back down if eventually, just because this game's a game of failure.
Yeah.
And so you really got to be even-minded the whole time.
How are you guys able to live your faith authentically in a world where, even at the minor league level, you have fans wanting your autograph and this, and they want your time, and you may not want to give it. But how and then the players. I mean, I've been in clubhouses and locker rooms, and it's not always the prettiest kind of conversation either.
No.
How do you live authentically your Christian faith in that world?
I think the biggest thing I try to focus on is just how I treat people. Like fans are like easy to treat well when they're, they've waited in line to get your autograph, or they've brought you your playing card. So that's like the easy part to me, is because that means a lot that they're taking time out of their day. But like in the locker room with your teammates, sometimes like it's a long season. You spend so much time with your teammates, your coaches, your trainers, everything like that. Like sometimes you might get your patience tested, or you might be having a rough day, and you can like take that on them. And I think the biggest thing that I like try to focus on is just loving my teammates no matter what. Being someone that they can come to, and like at the beginning of the year, that's tough because you don't know everyone as well. There's a handful of guys that you might be close with just from spring training or stuff like that. But then like by the end of the year, I'm able to have conversations with guys that like otherwise wouldn't have happened if I hadn't like shown love to them and been someone who kind of stands out to them. Like you want to be someone where in the locker room, or like the way you play, they can say, okay, something's different about him.
My final question is this, and we'll wrap with it. How do you keep your love for the game, given that it's a 130 plus game grind, alive when things get overwhelming, when things get hard? I don't know how you guys travel. If you're on buses, I suspect you are more than planes. How do you keep your love for the game alive?
Honestly, I think back where I was years ago and how I just was praying for an opportunity like I am in today. I remember, walking through the 20-degree weather at Cedarville, going to the Doden field house just to hit tees off in the cages, and just putting in that work. And I'm like, man, I know one day, like if I'm, keep doing my work, I can get a shot. And so I think remembering those times, especially 2 years ago when I did get drafted and I was going into independent professional baseball, and just, praying that, Lord, I just need one opportunity. So I think that's what keeps me hungry whenever, say, if it's a long week and we're in a different city and it's tough, you're having a tough week, in terms of playing wise. So that's what I go to, and that's what definitely keeps me motivated and gives me more energy, I would say.
Yeah. So Tanner, if you're at high A with Milwaukee, will you be in Dayton to play the Dragons?
Maybe.
Are they in the same league with you guys?
They're in a different division.
True. That's right. They're with West
league.
Michigan.
It's the same league, but we only played a couple of those teams from that other side last year, and I don't think we played Dayton at all.
Well, I hope you play them this year. I'll come over for a game, and hopefully you'll be pitching, and you'll have one giant fan in the stadium. I'll bring some friends so we can cheer for you.
That was the coolest part about when I was with the Twins playing in AAA, because that Midwest League took us to Indianapolis, took us to Louisville, Toledo, obviously. And so like that first year in 24, I saw so many of our former players that came out to watch me. I think that was honestly the most rewarding thing, is seeing former teammates and former friends from Cedarville come out that I hadn't seen like a couple of years, just because I was playing. I think that's the greatest blessing that I've had in doing this, is that I'm able to give a reason for others to kind of reunite and kind of see each other. So that was really cool to me, and kind of like just a full circle moment. So it's easy for you guys when you
you're traveling or you're in a stadium, you're playing, and former players or former students even come up to you and identify them. So even if you don't know them, that means a lot to you because of where you all started, right?
Yeah, I had baseball players this past year when I was in Louisville on the team now at Cedarville, and guys I didn't even know, but they were wearing their Cedarville shirts, and I spotted them after warmups, and they kind of introduced themselves, and I was just thrilled that they were there. And like I said, even though I didn't play with them, it meant the world. I mean, to me, that they came to the game and they're from Cedarville and they were repping. So I thought it was really cool.
Well, if you're at AAA with the Orioles, I believe that team will play the Mud Hens in Toledo. They'll play the Clippers in Columbus. So
they should. Like Tanner said, I think they might be on the different side of the league.
Okay.
But every once in a while they do play. And I know the schedule got released, so I would have to take a look at that.
I'll look at it too. And hopefully you're there, and I'd love to meet you personally. I've only seen you here on screen and talk to you on phone. So guys, it's been great to have you on the podcast. I could talk more baseball and Jesus with you, but time is up. But best wishes as spring training is underway, and looking forward to seeing where you will land this year with your respective clubs. Thanks for joining me this week on the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for listening to the Cedarville Stories podcast, brought to you by Cedarville University. To learn more about Cedarville University, visit our website at cedarville.edu. And be sure to come back next week when we'll share another Cedarville story for God's glory.